Oh, we're live. Hello.
Yay! Hi!
Hey, Trish.
Hi, Tony. TNT.
Yeah, what's happening?
Woo! Not much. Just enjoying a nice beverage for spring break. How about
Yeah,
you?
God bless you. Yeah, me too. Just, hey, you gotta
Cheers!
gotta
Cheers!
have it. Cheers,
Spring
cheers.
break.
Mm-hmm.
So good to
So,
be here, Tony. Thank you so much for inviting me.
yeah, thank you so much for accepting to come on and banter with me for about 45 minutes or so about random crazy Gen X or non-Gen Xer stuff.
Heck
Excuse me.
yeah! It's always a pleasure with you,
Yeah,
Tony.
and you're doing a little marathon thing here. You just did 45 minutes, right? You just finished
Hmm.
up your podcast that you did, and I caught part of that. That was awesome.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on
Thank
that.
you.
That's it's just briefly, not to talk about everything you just talked about, but to be able to go out there and talk um, about the subject matter that you were talking about, sex, and talking about everything that you guys chatted about, streaming live on Facebook for the world to listen to is God bless you. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very happy to be drinking with you here now because I earned it.
Indeed, that's awesome. So we are yeah, I'm hanging out down in Florida. Last time we talked, the snow was blowing. I was in upstate New York. You were giving me a hard time because it was 85 degrees outside in your part of the world there out west. And I guess I just took you up on the offer and went south for spring break for
Yeah.
the convention. I thought, well, hell, if that's what the theme is, I better just go south and go where spring break is. And there's not much of a spring break happening here in Florida, at least where I am right now, but the weather, I'm having my own little spring break next to the swimming pool, hanging out, having a good time.
Wonderful. Well, and now it's cloudy here in Phoenix and
Oh
about
boy.
55 degrees, so I'm freezing. And what's the temperature like there in Florida where you're at?
It's 80.
And sunny?
Yeah, it's 80 and sunny. Yeah.
Good for you. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I think this is I think it's streaming on Facebook. I just want to make sure that we're up and running right. Is there an easy way for you to tell quicker than me cuz I'm new at this? Well, Tom hasn't yelled at me yet, so I
No,
think that
no,
we got that right.
he said we've been live
We're
for a
good.
while,
Oh,
so we're
okay.
good.
Oh,
We're
and I
good.
don't have my comments up, so we're not looking. Oh, there the comments are. Oh, there's Eric, and okay, good.
Hey,
We're
Eric's
good.
back. Nice to see you again, Eric. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So briefly, at one point I thought, well, maybe we should sit down and have a conversation and figure out what we're going to talk about and kind of script it out, for lack of a better term, and have some topics. And then I thought, well, the last time we talked, we went for 3 hours with a break in between, I think, and came back and kept talking. So I thought, well, at least we're going to figure out something to talk about for 45 minutes. So the only idea that I threw out there to you briefly today, and I know you've been busy, so you probably haven't put 10 seconds of thought into it, but so this really fascinating thing happened to me driving to Florida from upstate New York. So I went through Pennsylvania, North and South Carolina, Georgia, Maryland, DC for half a second, Virginia as well. And it was a really fascinating thing that I kind of geeked out on because for the last year, just like a lot of people, I haven't traveled more than 30 miles from my house for any particular reason other than stay home, go to work, come back. We were fortunate to have a business that was we didn't close down during the pandemic. We were farming, we were doing stuff last spring, so we have been busy. We didn't get furloughed, we didn't get a break, we didn't get sent home. None of that stuff happened to us, and so we've been going hard for the last year for the most part. And I thought, well, let me take a break. We're going to go down and stay at a house and self quarantine while we're down here. Why not? And just hang out and sit by the pool. What I found was super fascinating was the drive. So I was really nervous. So coming from New York, and New York has been, first to shut down, first to lock down, still have tons and tons of government rules and regs, and everything is still really tight in New York. He's starting to, the government's starting to lift a little bit, but it's still pretty pandemic oriented there. And in Florida is really the polar opposite from a government perspective. The government said, we're going to trust you as citizens to not be total dumbasses, and we're opening everything up. Well, of course, we all watch the news. The news has been saying, Texas and Florida, the end of the world is happening because this government has opened everything up. The really interesting thing is in Florida, it is. The government has said we're open for business. Each municipality is doing things a little bit differently, but for the most part, it's pretty much lax. You want to go into a business, mom and pop, big box, you want to go into a grocery store, liquor store, gas station. If you're not wearing a mask, they're not serving you. It's turned into a no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. So the businesses down here are doing what you would expect good citizens to do. And they're asking people to wear masks. And you know what? For the most part, 99% of the people are without issue, which is damn near a polar opposite of what the news on both sides of everybody that broadcasts on television is saying. The total opposite of that, which is crazy to me. So I don't know. I just think that it's one more nail in the coffin that media is they're driven by money and ratings, and that is damn near the end of it.
Well, what's funny, Tony, is that Arizona was a part of the Texas-Florida debacle of having so many, cases that we were at 95% capacity in our hospitals. I completely stopped my outdoor adventuring. I didn't go anywhere except to, vital businesses, my job, which was mostly from home. And my bubble couple's house. But we also didn't have a mandate, so to speak. And so we too have all this time, bars have pretty much been open. My bubble couple and I went into, Eric knows, he's in Mesa. We went to a bar, we sat out on the patio and basically felt really uncomfortable because when we went inside, no one was wearing a mask.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty full. They would have little tables in between, but you're talking about a huge bar with all these patrons without a mask on. And it was like, well, I understand that Arizona isn't going to mandate, but I'm going to go ahead and wear a mask and do my own. So now my friend just texted me and said that we're at 70%. We're in a downward trajectory of cases, but I still don't feel like we're at the end.
Right.
I still don't really feel like going to a bar, even though I miss it. I love sitting on this one, patio outside. My bubble couple and I go to all the time, even before I called them that. There's a part of me, especially when we were chatting and it was 80 degrees out. That's one of my favorite things to do in Arizona is sit outside and drink.
Yeah, that's
with my
Florida.
friends.
Yeah, their patios here are bigger than their insides. And I have noticed, like this morning, we were, my wife and I went over to the farmer's market. It's Saturday morning. We decided to go get some, fresh seafood, some produce. And last week we went and there was a percentage of rain. So there wasn't actually a lot of people there. And today there's a ton of people there. And today was the first time that I noticed in kind of a public gathering, although outside and not set up in a way that you could be socially distant, really.
Right. Farmers markets aren't really socially distant.
Yeah, they're kind of hard deals.
Yeah.
What I did notice was all of the vendors and anybody, there was entertainment there and food there and vendors there. They were all masked and wearing masks. So anybody that was there in an official capacity was masking just like any business owner would be, it seemed like. And then it was like 60-40 mix, 60% wearing masks. And that was the most people I had seen out in a public setting that weren't wearing masks. We haven't gone out to any big restaurants yet to see, mostly still takeout. My wife and I, a year of new habits are hard to break and get comfortable going into an environment like that. I mean, there was one deli grocery store that we were in, and it got really busy when we were in there. And it was, although people were trying to keep space. So I think the customers and people that I've talked to say, yeah, we don't go to places that they're not enforcing masks. But yet at the same time, I haven't yet seen people hold people at the door necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
We're too busy right this second. I'm not seeing that. So I think there's kind of a fine balance there, I'm guessing. But I haven't been yet in a situation where I've felt totally uncomfortable, where people are just kind of being free for all. Now, I'm also not going to those places, the student touristy spots where people are going to congregate and jam in there year round, potentially, along the boardwalks and where the beach stuff is. We've tried to avoid that or not hit it at peak times, just to kind of be good citizens and, try to stay healthy, because you're right. We're not over. It's not over yet. And you got to kind of still try to be careful a little bit for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
common sense. I think it really is common sense. And I think people, for the most part, when they're left to that and given the right information, I think that they're going to act accordingly. And you always get the jackasses. I mean, we know that. They
Right.
can't help it. I mean, it just is the way it is. So whatever from that perspective. But, yeah. So.
Well, I want to speak to what Eric says. And he's like, if they're drinking and eating, how would you wear a mask? And I hear you, Eric. And that's literally why I don't feel comfortable in those scenarios. If I'm picking up food at a restaurant, for instance, and everyone's without a mask because they're eating, obviously, I don't feel comfortable.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a personal choice. Even if you're at 25% capacity or 15% capacity or 100% capacity, if you're not comfortable, it doesn't matter. If there's
right.
people there and they're not wearing a mask, I found that we actually, thinking about it, my wife and I haven't been in a restaurant since this happened. We have not sat down and eaten anywhere. For that reason, it was kind of timing. So where we live, super tourist community, the restaurants kind of die off and a lot of them close because they're seasonal. And it's just, it's just kind of a level of comfort. I mean, we have a lot of responsibility. I look at it from a business owner's perspective as well. I have employees. I have a business that I'm responsible for, along with my sister, my wife, my father. And if one of us kind of drops off the rails, we have all these staff that rely on us as well, and they could totally pick up the ball and do everything, and they have. But I feel a greater responsibility also to them. It's not just about me and my wife and my immediate family anymore. My bubble includes all these employees that I'm responsible for and that I care about. And if I'm down for the count, or God forbid something happens, you gotta, what are you gonna do? So we haven't sat at a restaurant yet. And I've asked, we've talked about it a couple of times since we've been here. It's like, well, do you want to go out? Well, let's wait till the weekday. And now we have a week left of this trip and we still haven't gone out. So we'll see what happens this week. But it's that if I can't sit down and be comfortable, why go torture yourself like that?
I like Hermes asked a question about noticing generational differences about masks and opinions. Sure. I'm going to say in Arizona, it's a purple state now. So you really have just the gamut of, I work on a college campus. I see tons of kids without masks on. I go to the Circle K and see tons of people our age and older not wear masks. I see people like at the bar I was talking about. That's a very, it's millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers. And I think I think it's important to point out that like masks and wearing masks and taking the pandemic seriously is more, unfortunately, a political stance or a personal stance than it is anything about generations. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I would agree. What I've noticed is the elderly seem to be so the greatest generation. have been.
Oh, well, no, the greatest generation is, that's the parents of the boomers.
Yeah, the parents of the boomers have been super careful and cautious because of their age. So we're talking 70 and up ish. And I've noticed that they've taken it very seriously, in some cases almost to a fault. I mean, now I'm starting to see news reports and stuff about these grandma and grandpas that have gotten their shots. They're good to go to at least see their family, and they're even nervous doing that, and they need their doctor to actually say, yeah, it's okay. You can see your immediate family. And then it's really a mixed bag. My dad and his generation, initially especially, took it super seriously and was really concerned about it, thankfully. But yeah, then we kind of saw these college kids doing this crazy stuff where they were, hey, I'm invincible, the same stuff that every teenager does, right? Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm bulletproof.
Right.
But I've also kind of seen that conversation change, I think, as it's more information has kind of gotten out there, but it became such a political issue that it just turned into a nightmare. You didn't know what to believe. And they, in the CDC, those guys were changing what they were saying, but that was because as they were getting more information. I want to believe it wasn't political on their end, but you could argue that it was. Their information always seemed pretty methodical and thought out from a from a health perspective. I want to believe that. I want to believe in the greater good, I guess, and don't want to go down this conspiracy theory rabbit hole necessarily. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Ben's taken it is pretty good with it. It's funny, different parts of the country, I think, have responded differently. Compared to, and Eric says that he sees people masked for the most part. Mesa is close to ASU, so I'm glad to hear that. I'm in Glendale, so I don't see it as much. Well, that's a lie. I see it in the grocery stores for the most part, people in Circle K, but it seems to be so 40-60. Like you were saying, Tony,
sure,
that I don't, 60% are wearing masks. I wouldn't say that for the most part. I guess 60% is the most part, but but I'm telling you, when I'm on campus, nobody's wearing a mask unless they're inside.
Wow.
And I understand that being outside, and we even have someone viewing that says that, she has asthma, and it's really hard for her to wear a mask. And I definitely understand. I know that there's plenty of doctors and nurses that have asthma that have to wear masks, 12, 18-hour shifts. So I applaud you, Teresa, that you're able to get through this without contracting it. But I feel like it's definitely not a generational thing. It's definitely
it's all over. I think it's personal.
It's all over. Yeah.
It's kind of, I think a lot of it has to do with where you live and how the pandemic has affected your part of the world,
right?
Personally, people in your circle or your community, and ultimately it does. It's everybody's personal deal, and I think that even folks that have challenges with wearing masks for medical reasons, especially, it's a raw deal. I mean, that is just hard. I'm no spring chicken. I got about an extra, I don't know, let's shoot out there about an extra 100 pounds like I'm carrying around on my waist these days, and go put a face covering on me and go start walking around. It's brutal. And sometimes,
but what about shields? What about those face shields?
Sure. I always felt,
why not those?
Sure. I'm guessing that would be a great alternative, although I haven't worn one. And when I do wear them, I'm usually grinding or doing something in the shop, not necessarily walking around in the grocery store. I think it defeats the purpose personally. Just a piece of plastic in front of you doesn't kind of, cause that air to, on a microscopic level, to come in and get you, so to speak, if you're going to get got.
Right. Yeah. Maria, let me tell you, I was a high school French teacher for 9 years and a counselor at the elementary level for a year. And all I can do is count my blessings that I am in higher ed, and that I get to work remotely 50% of the time, because I can't imagine being in
Really?
a high school setting,
Yeah, high school's got to be
or
tough.
yeah,
For
especially
sure.
with some of the schools I taught at that were really tough.
Yeah.
They didn't even want to sit in their seat, let alone
Right.
wear a mask. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
some of
think
those rougher
our
neighborhoods in those schools, yeah, that would be a hard deal,
right.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm so, I mean, I have my principal certificate. I could have gone that route.
Mm,
I was planning on doing the principal superintendent route.
mhm,
And all I can think of every single day that I don't have to make these decisions is,
right.
oh my God, did I dodge a bullet?
Yeah, I mean, my sister, she's got 5 kids. One just graduated and he's going into the military, but she's got 4 younger ones. One, and I crazy. I mean, and they're really good about putting their masks on. I mean, they're being good little soldiers, so to speak, and they're doing what they need to do. But man, she's got her hands full because, okay, you're raising a family and now you got to throw this thing in where they're home so much more than you're used to. And for sure they're used to. And then tell them they got to put a mask on. And my nieces and nephews have been pretty darn good. And there hasn't been any issue necessarily from that. And the oldest is actually working with us at the farm while he's waiting to go to boot camp. And
Wow.
yeah, it's a hard schools and school kids and schools. What a hard deal. And
Yeah.
to try to pick a side with that whole thing is just crazy. I've just sat back and watched that and felt horrible for both sides, the parents, the teachers, and then the kids are stuck in the middle as usual, right? The adults are
Right.
doing whatever they're doing and the kids are stuck in the middle where all they want to do is go to school and see their friends, and that's
Yeah.
their world.
My boomer uncle and I talk about this all the time, that like our 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 youthful years, like being our teens and 20s, we were able to, hang out with our friends and go to shows and bonfire parties on the beach, right?
Mhm.
Like
Right?
you like
Yeah,
did. My
that's
uncle did
right.
the same. Backpacking trips, camping trips, just gathering together and being young and crazy.
Right.
We've erased this. This has been erased from them. I'm not
Right.
going to say we, because I feel like it's the virus. I don't think that
Sure.
it's humans.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Um,
definitely going to look back on it as a very strange time in their high school years. We all have our
or
stories.
even like their even people that are in their 20s, I
20s.
feel like are
Sure.
really losing out on these like really special years of their
Yeah,
life of
indeed.
living and partying and
Right.
being social. And
But let's look at it this way. So if history says anything, right? So let's go back to the
Spanish flu,
So right after the Spanish
1918.
flu,
Let's do
yeah,
it. Let's
let's
do it.
go. Roaring 20s, people having a good time, partying it up big time. That's what I'm hoping for. And I have faith in especially our younger generation, but us old people now, I think we'll be able to kick our heels up and have some
Yeah.
good times for sure.
Yeah.
It's on the horizon. I think that everybody's itching right now and it's hard. Summer's coming. We're right there. We're almost there. And once we hit it, I think we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great couple of years, I think, and people are going to have a really good time and kind of, I wouldn't say throw caution to the wind, but maybe be a little nicer to people and a lot more lighthearted and having fun. That's where I'm going.
I hope you're right, Tony. I have to say, I definitely feel, yes, we need to drink more wine, Eric. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I
Like,
left that out there.
and if anything, oh yeah, okay, I've got to say this much. Like, wearing a mask in public and sunglasses is like the closest to being a superhero that I've ever been allowed to do in public outside of Halloween. And and like I'm gonna miss that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, especially as a woman, if anyone caught my live broadcast right before this one, being a woman comes with some, why aren't you smiling more?
Yeah,
You're too
right.
pretty to frown. No one's saying that to me now, right?
Especially my staff and folks that work with me and are around me all the time, they say the same thing to me. Why aren't you smiling? Why are you so happy?
No,
Oh my God,
no.
it never ends. And
You're
I do
right.
kind of like that whole mask thing where,
Yeah.
you
I don't
want
have to show you my
say things under
expression.
your
I can
breath, especially
raise my
sometimes.
eyebrows.
That's totally, that is going to be
That's
hard.
good.
The fun part will be when they're not wearing the masks and they're used to wearing a mask and they start doing that and they don't have it on
They
anymore.
forget
That's where the
that we
fun
can
stuff's
see
going to
you
happen.
now. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I'm a smiler too. I actually, funny that I should say the thing. Yes, Maria. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
I really don't ever want to go back to meetings where I have to wear the full outfit. I love wearing my pajama bottoms and my sweatpants. Man, I love these Zoom. You guys have no idea what I'm wearing under here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got a button-up shirt on, but yeah, nope.
Party on the top or party on the bottom, but business on the top, right?
That's right.
Like,
yeah, that's
definitely.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna miss certain aspects, but I also feel like I really hope that even if we do like balls to the wall party and have a great time, I do hope that we do take some things away, which are, let's be more sanitary. Like, I've never seen so many places be so clean.
Yeah,
and
right.
It makes you wonder, like, what have we been doing all this time? Like, we are a dirty species.
And I think a lot of that'll carry on, especially the youngsters, because it's been so
ingrained in
in
them.
the last year.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us will, bad habits, old habits. Maybe I think everybody will be a little better for it, for sure. And I think that's just out of the course of just doing, a new habit, right? It's how many weeks do they say? 3 weeks. And we've been doing this for almost a year now. I think that it's probably going to stick with more people. I'm hoping.
I don't know though, because look at how quickly we forgot about the Spanish flu, and that lasted 2 years. And it's like we
I don't know
didn't
what
really
they
learn
did during
anything.
that though, right? I mean, did they? I guess I didn't do enough. I haven't done enough research on it post Spanish flu to know what they did or didn't do or how they fixed that, other than herd immunity and just kind of worked through it necessarily.
Oh, well,
But
Hermes is saying that there was a boomerang floodgates breaking. Interesting. Oh my gosh. It's true that the 1920s happened after the pandemic of the Spanish flu.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah, right. That's what they did. They partied. They said, "Screw it. We're alive."
Okay.
You didn't get that?
I'm a little bit
drinking.
I'm a little bit, you know how it goes when I'm on your show, Tony. I get a
Mhm.
little loose and a little fuzzy, and I don't process as quickly. But yeah. Oh my gosh, I wonder. And with all the knowledge that we have today of like how dirty humans are,
Oh, come on. You got to have more faith. I mean,
I've already decided, Tony, I've already decided how I'm going to date again. Okay. Cause I haven't dated since all of this started. I'm going to be like, did you mask up during the pandemic, during the pandy?
Oh dear.
What are your thoughts on hand sanitizer?
I'm going to throw this out there about hand sanitizer. Pre-pandemic, hand sanitizer companies were freaking out because I believe it was the CDC were saying to stop using hand sanitizer.
Right, because it was allowing bacteria to grow immunity. I remember because I always thought hand sanitizer was a joke. I was never a user actually because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And funny how now I have a travel one. I have one in my office on campus, every workstation for my student workers.
Yep.
I have one right when I come into that apartment. Like, Eric, I will call you when it's time to party. Let's do it. Let's party like it's 2019.
You'll have fun with Eric. He's a good guy. I've known Eric my whole life, I think. Almost Yeah, almost my whole life.
I think that's what you were saying last time.
Years,
Yeah.
so 47, so 40 years. So I think I met Eric when I was still a little youngster when we first moved to California from New York. And
I love that he's supporting you. That just is so great, right? Like, it just goes to show that generational ties are just basically like, it really doesn't matter what generation you come from. If there's a connection, there's a connection.
Yeah. He's
current D. Hey, I'm vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm in next week is when I get my first hug in he'll bring his Geritol. Yes.
Eric,
I love it. I love it, Eric. You're hilarious. But I haven't touched a human. My dentist touched me on Thursday. And I can't even tell you, because Tony, you're married, you don't get this, but all of us single folk, like, it is, you forget that, like, there's this feeling when another hand, I don't know how to touch it, like, this feels like, oh, that's nice, yeah, whatever, you can do your own, touch your head and whatever, but like when another human does it, like he was massaging my face, like, does this hurt? And I'm like, yeah, like, very far from it, doctor. and his assistant, like, touched my head to, like, place my head in the x-ray thing, and I was like,
that's crazy, isn't it?
Oh man. So I get my first hug since June on Thursday, and so if that means that I'm more attractive now in the dating world, I hope this. I hope he's out there then. Like, I hope it's time. Russ.
So true. So true, Russ.
The only time that I can say that I loved when my dentist touched me. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Hopefully he's not watching, because he's mortified right now.
No, I straight up told him, I was like, you're the first person to touch me since June. And he was like, okay. He was a friendly older gent.
That's
I was like, I'm looking at you, Lord. Kid. No, but they have done some studies on, like, the psychological sort of, things, but I'm a spiritual person. I meditate, I feel really grounded. And what I've done is, because I don't know if it's my age, my generation, but I've just looked at this as, okay, well, now I need to adapt again. I need to pivot again. Right. So I found you. You're one of my favorite friends. Russell is actually, oh my God, you're right, Russ. You're right. I did. But so you guys are two people I've connected with, since the pandemic. And I just shifted my energy virtually, sure. And it was super easy. And I feel like I've made this amazing connection. So even though I live alone and I haven't been touched by a human except for my dentist on Thursday since June, I don't feel the same anxiety, depression, or any sadness at all.
And that's been an important thing for a lot of people. Again, we've been really fortunate because our work family is given an outlet to a handful of people to have purpose every day and get out of the house and go to work. That's also caused us and to be in the public view, in the public eye, especially last summer when we were really busy and had a lot of customers around and having to pivot and do all the stuff we had to do to be in compliance. But it allowed the staff to continue to keep those relationships and doing that. And that's also, on the flip side of that, that's what caused me to start looking at podcasting and getting into this and doing it, as I felt like there was nobody that I could talk to. I mean, aside from my family, but nowhere I could really vent or to just kind of get random thoughts and ideas and information out there that wasn't work or family related. So it was great. It started out, of course, as an opportunity for me to sit in a room essentially by myself and either reminisce about crazy stories about crashing my dad's car in high school over and over and over again, to whatever the topic was. and I did a couple episodes on politics, and I was really nervous about it because in my business, our job is to entertain and let people forget about their lives. Tasting room, winery, fun, excitement,
Yeah.
romance, award-winning wine kind of deal. I don't want to talk about politics unless they want to. And most of the time they didn't want to. They wanted to
it's an escape,
have fun. But I couldn't necessarily, you're there to serve them, not necessarily yourself to vent or to talk. And having this outlet where it felt like there was nobody listening, and now like lots of people are listening, which is a new kind of weird thing. And but I still feel kind of the freedom to be able to say what I need to say and not be worried that it's going to adversely affect kind of my day-to-day business and life, because I'm not standing on a pulpit in the middle of my tasting room, giving my opinion that nobody really wants anyway. I can do it in a way that I can say what I need to say in a structured way. And it's been really refreshing to get good feedback and have really good conversations, people like yourself, to be able to have these conversations. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of on a granular level. There's differences there, but we're able to talk about it, see each other's point of views. And that is so important to practice. Our generation still had that a lot, where I think the youngsters have not learned it necessarily, and that's a whole cancel culture thing and could be a whole different conversation. But we're still out there. The Xers are still promoting that and having that discussion and embracing diversity.
I love that you don't share every single viewpoint the same as me, because
how boring is that?
Right. But what it does, it allows me to really unpack and unfold my ideas and what I believe based on how I present it to you. So I think on one of our 3-hour parts was that you said something, or I said something, and you were like, yeah, but and I was like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's the beauty of being around people who have different viewpoints than you. And our generation knows that. We revel in that, because when we were younger, I feel like our generation was a lot more exploratory in that we sought out people who were different than us. We were exposed to people who are different than us. Whereas in this new, which is kind of ironic, because we met virtually, but I'm going to say virtually, you tend to stay in these pockets where it's like, I only like these Facebook posts, I only like these Instagram posts. But I know that if like, and what podcasting has done for me is it's opened me to, I connected with you because we're both the same generation.
Yeah, that's where the conversation started, in some random chat room about GenX something, and you responded and said, I'm looking for people to come on, and I said, hey, I'll come on.
That's it. That's all.
Started.
And but back in the olden days, Tony, you and I would have maybe met in a coffee house because I saw your backpack, or maybe a book I was reading you saw, or you know what I mean. So you have these like similarity connections, and then realize, wow, like you are a completely different kind of person than me. And I'm so glad I met you because of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great. It's been great opportunities to be able to meet new and different people in that way. And again, us, we're of the opposite sex, well, obviously, but
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, right. So would we have ever met other than passing conversation or a hello or whatever, unless we were in some sort of structured environment? And what would that conversation have looked like? My wife is sitting here, is this appropriate? Is it not? I mean, there's so many other things that come into play when you're meeting people in different environments. And this just allowed itself to be what it is. And and there wasn't any kind of there wasn't nothing there that would have caused it to be anything other than what it is, which is just
kind of like when we were in our 20s.
Yeah, right. When you were young 20s, and you were single and you were meeting people and friends. And
if you had your wife be your girlfriend at those times.
Right.
Oh, I know, totally. And Hermes, you're great because you always pop up when I'm live, and I just love that. And all that you give to us. But I feel like back in the olden days, like we definitely all congregated.
Right. It would have been more of a social.
Right. And I would have met you with your wife, girlfriend, right. And it would never have been weird. And we'd been like, what's up? Like, right. I don't feel like, yes, this is not what I'm drinking. It's my travel of my Tito's. But I just thought I'd like to let everyone know I'm pouring up. But I feel like that's what's so weird about today's world is I couldn't have just approached you and your wife and be like, hey, you guys seem like you're my age. Let's have a conversation. And and I agree. Introverts unite because I'm an ambivert. I get to be both sides. Like I recharge alone. I love living alone. I love being alone. I don't find any issue with not having dated or being touched by a human in since June, because I just went, okay, what's next, right? And I found connections virtually, and I love it actually because it's almost like I said, it's almost echoing a time when we all could be together. And even as an introvert, you could be in a crowded room and still make a connection with someone because you're at the same rave together, or you're all in the same pot smoking circle together, but you just happen to sit next to each other, or drum circle, or like backpacking trip, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean though? Yeah, like
it's really, yeah, well, although I think that you're obsessing about not being touched for a year a little too much. I'm a little worried about you right now, but
I just want the world to know.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take that deadbolt off that door behind you and step through it at some point. And we'll all hold your hand. I promise. We'll all be there.
Thursday, I'm gonna jump back on the app.
You can just put the phone, and just we'll put it on speaker. We'll all be there with you when you get ready to do it. I didn't, again, totally different pandemic experience. I didn't have the luxury, and I tried to be the one in the business and the family to pull back and not be around people at all. And I still couldn't do it because I had to run the joint and didn't have that. I don't know if it's a luxury or not, but I am totally okay with not being around tons of people all the time. And I didn't have that option.
Wow. So, yeah. That's so interesting.
It's for us. It was, you can't let as many people in the building, start cleaning shit really good, spread everybody out. Thank God I had a big 60 by 100-foot tent outside, we would have been, decimated if we didn't have that space. But yeah, totally opposite experience from that perspective is we had to be there. We had to be in front of people.
But what I love though is that you echoed what I said though, and that is that I'm joking about the whole not touch thing, but the point being though is our ability as a generation to pivot very easily. There's a great, and I know we're short on time, so I'm going to make it really fast. But there's a great meme on Facebook that's like the pandemic was. Like GenX has been working on being ready for this our whole lives.
Right.
We know how to hunker down. We know how to pivot. We know how to figure out something else to entertain us.
Sure.
I would love to see studies that show, what age group is most affected by the pandemic. And I would like to see that Gen X is the one that came up on top.
Yeah, of course. Gen X, we're the best.
Mia says her life hasn't changed at all. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's a little bit of a change, Mia, if you don't go anywhere.
So you see that last name next to that post? You see that right there? That's my daughter. And she's at
Oh,
And
hi, Mia.
she's raising my grandson, and she's basically a stay-at-home mom, and she's been raising that youngster and doing what she needs to do, and her life probably hasn't changed all that much, because she is you in that sense. She doesn't have any issues with being home, hanging out, being alone, not dealing with a bunch of jackasses out there, for sure. So God bless her.
Yeah. Man, Tony, it's been so fun doing this with you as usual.
Indeed.
I can't even believe it's already been 45 minutes.
Right, it is.
It's
Yeah, my
amazing.
timer. So I was trying to be a good citizen, and look at that. We just hit it. So we're gonna have to sign off so that we don't get in trouble from the convention police, because they have a schedule and we need to stay on that schedule, not mess things up for everybody else too much. And it's been awesome, Trish. God bless you. Thank you so much. It's
Same,
been fun
Tony.
again, as usual. And thank you, everybody, for your comments and listening in. And come check me out, genxperspective.com, or GenX Perspective, wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you guys for everything. And God bless, and enjoy the rest of the convention. There's some super awesome other podcasts coming on, and some breakout sessions on Zoom. Go on Facebook, check out PodVcom or Con.
Com,
COMM, and see what they have to offer the rest of this weekend and next weekend as well, and support a great cause. Thank you guys for everything. And Trish, I'll catch you on the flip side.
Sounds good, Tony. Have a great time in Florida.
Peace.